Welcome to the Adaptive Collaborative Podcast, connecting the adaptive community. Hosted by James Norris, founder of Handy Capable Fitness, and Melissa DeChellis, founder of Adaptively Abled Amputees and Adaptively Abled Fitness.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Adaptive Collaborative Podcast. I'm Melissa DeChellis here with my co-host James Norris of Handy Capable Fitness, and we are here with the one, the only Earl Grandville. Earl is a wounded warrior. He's involved in both Operation Enduring Warrior and Oscar Mike Foundations. He is an avid CrossFitter, and he is an obstacle course race enthusiast. He's a para-Spartan racer. There's really not much that you haven't accomplished in the last few years, Earl, but for those that don't know you well, do you mind giving us a brief intro? Sure, absolutely. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Melissa and James. Appreciate the invite. And a little bit about my background. Before I became a person, I guess you could say respectfully, with a disability, I was in the Army for 9 years as an infantryman, and with deployments to Bosnia and Iraq, and I did one more tour in Afghanistan. On this deployment, I lost my leg from a roadside bomb, and more tragically that day, two of my comrades were killed in the same blast. Specialist Derek Holland of Wind Gap, Pennsylvania, and Major Scott Haggerty of Stillwater, Oklahoma. I just like to mention them because I feel like it's the right thing to do. So what can I say? I got lucky. I lost my left leg above the knee, and my right leg is considered limb salvage. Life was good. I moved forward, went through rehab at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, got my independence back, learned how to snowboard again with a special prosthetic. Was playing sled hockey, and things were going good. And we could get to the rest later, though. But that's kind of led me here with the situation I'm in now with my disability. And I focus a lot on mental health now and healthy ways to battle adversity, do a lot of public speaking. Yesterday I spoke to a high school football team in Montrose, Pennsylvania, about the importance of being a part of a team and having a purpose and never carrying the weight of adversity by yourself. But we can get in that other stuff later.
Absolutely love it, Earl. And again, thank you so much for joining us. Now, in preparation for this, I read and heard that you had to fight to keep your other leg. Is that true? And how long did your recovery take once you got everything up and going and where you are today? How long did that recovery take?
I feel like it took a little while, but it wasn't a full fight to keep the other leg. But there was definitely a sense of am I going to lose this leg as well? When I woke up from that blast, I was still on the ground. And if you're looking at my legs that day, my right leg looked 10 times worse than my left. And when my medic, Doc Jones, got to me and he was working on me, all the work he was doing was on my right leg over and over and over. Pressure dressing, tourniquet, and we finally did a quick clot to finally get the bleeding to stop. And then I went under for surgery shortly that evening when I got to Bagram Air Base in their hospital, and they did surgery on my right hip. I woke up in Germany, so I'm in a completely different continent. And when I woke up later on that day, the nurses said, and the doctor said, we're going to have to amputate your left leg. And I was a little shocked by that. I was like, wait a minute, wasn't my right one that was really damaged? They were both beat up, but the right looked 10 times worse. And internally, with my left leg, they had to pull some muscle out, and it was just dangling there. So they said, there's no saving it. We're going to get rid of it. And my right leg has always been considered limb salvage. And I'm still in pain with it, but it's all tolerable. 2 years after the incident, about 2 or 3 years, I had what's called a subtalar fusion in my foot to stop a lot of movement, which helped control some of the pain. And that helped quite a bit, but it's not fully there. But I'm off high narcotic medication to battle pain, which is grateful what I wanted. I didn't want to be on Percocets for the rest of my life. So, but it was definitely a battle for a little while, but I feel like I made the right decision.
100%. Now, you and your brother were extremely close, and after his tragic passing, you had hit a rough patch. What was that like turning point for you when you said, you know what, I have to make a change here?
Right. Well, to back up a little bit, to kind of give the audience a little background. So after I joined the military because of my twin brother. I mean, he was a big push why I joined, and him and I were in boot camp together, Bosnia, Iraq. Then I volunteered for Afghanistan, and that's where I lost my leg. And he stayed back on that deployment because he was now married and he was trying to start a family, so he couldn't volunteer for things all the time. When I lost my leg, it took him pretty hard. It definitely took him hard. And 2.5 years later, after me losing my leg, my twin brother, Staff Sergeant Joe Granville, he ended up committing suicide. Heavy stuff, guys. I'm not saying that's why he did what he did. I'm not here to get into that. I stopped trying to dwell on it and figure out why this happened, because it's not going to bring him back. There's absolutely not going to bring him back. But I have to tell you, James, losing my leg was pretty easy compared to losing my brother. And I went into this downward spiral where it turned into playing the victim, feeling sorry for myself, thinking the world owes me everything, and was living a very unhealthy lifestyle. And what kind of, to answer your question from that, what kind of turned me around was, I feel like I learned from Joe's wife, a lot of Joe's peers that I met after he passed away, is how I went out to Vail, Colorado to learn how to snowboard again, okay? And I actually made the front page of the Vail Daily as I was snowboarding. You could see my prosthetic, my pant leg rolled up and down this it was a bunny slope, so it didn't even look that cool, right? But I made the front page, right? So, when you put a quarter into one of those machines and you open the machine and you take a paper out. Well, I took every damn paper out. Okay. I was like, look, I'm going to cover this, right? And I took them home with me, and I handed them out to my friends and family. Look at this, I'm on the front page, And I guess Joe showed this to everybody and bragged about it. Now, Joe and I didn't have that type of relationship where we would, compliment each other. Oh, you're doing a good job. We just weren't. That wasn't our relationship. It was more like, I'm going to give you a ball tap and that's it. You know what I mean? Just busting each other's chops, right? So I heard from these guys, oh man, I saw that, you were on the front page of that paper or whatever. And,
so we know he has
other stuff of where Joe was showing a lot of pride in what I was achieving after I lost my leg. That was my turning point, where I'm like, I can't sit here in sorrow anymore and feeling sorry for myself. Playing this victim is not going to get me anywhere in life. And this kind of turned my life around a little bit. And, I was able to get a running leg at Walter Reed. And I started running 5Ks. I got involved in CrossFit, get myself back in shape. And it just snowballed from there. It's like I started making all these little goals for myself and just started moving forward. And lo and behold, I now help run 2 military nonprofits, and I'm leading once again, just like I was in uniform. So it's it's full circle how everything turns out, and a lot of that had to do with attitude.
Now you just hit on it a little bit when you talked about leading 2 organizations, and for those people that don't know, it's the Oscar Mike Foundation and Operation Enduring Warrior. Can you explain what those 2 organizations' goals are and what the role you play is?
Absolutely. So the Oscar Mike Foundation, it was created by my buddy Noah Courier. And, maybe I can even look you up with you guys if you're interested. So Noah's a Marine in 1st Marine Division as an infantryman. And March 18th, 2003, the day we invaded Iraq, that was Noah's unit. Okay. And Noah, he was over there for about 3 or 4 months, and 2 days after coming home, he went back to Camp Pendleton, where he was stationed in California. And less than a week after coming home, he was in a horrible automobile accident, and now he's I believe a C4 paraplegic or quadriplegic. I'm sorry. What helped Noah continue to live a healthy and happy lifestyle is Noah found himself being involved in adaptive sports, and this encouraged him to start an organization called the Oscar Mike Foundation. Oscar Mike was radio jungle. They used his unit used Oscar Mike stood for on the move. Hey, we're Oscar Mike, let's go. So he decided to take that and what we do now as being on the move, staying active, not letting your injuries define who they are. And Oscar Mike, we have an apparel line. All of our apparel's made right here in the United States. And that funding helps us. We run obstacle course races with our athletes, helping get through Spartan races. And we have what's called Oscar Mike, the OM Militia wheelchair rugby team. And we're the only all-veteran wheelchair rugby team in the country. And yeah, pretty neat. And we also have what's called the Oscar Mike compound. So any of our athletes like to come to the compound for a week out in Poplar Grove, Illinois. What we'll do is we'll take them skydiving. We'll even teach them how to fly a plane. Like, I'm not talking a jumbo jet, but like a small plane. And this partnership we have with the local private airfield in town. We do a little 5K in rugby wheelchair. We swim across the lake within the facility. If you can't swim, then we'll put you in a kayak and kayak across. Even if you struggle kayaking on your own with your respective disability, we have a tandem kayak so somebody can assist you along the way. And we even teach them how to eat healthy, food prep, and the right ways with nutrition and everything. So yeah, that's kind of Oscar Mike in a nutshell. And Operation Enduring Warrior, I feel like OEW is kind of what turned my life around quite a bit in living this, leading once again and being involved and helping guys and girls out in situations that I was in. And OEW's mission is we honor, empower, and motivate our wounded veterans and law enforcement to live an active lifestyle, not let their injuries define who they are. And what I feel is most important for those who once wore some type of uniform, be a part of a team once again. I feel like in the military, most of us join as soon as we get out of high school, so our whole adult life is combat boots and a rifle. And sometimes when that's taken away from us, when our whole adult life is this culture, I think that the hardest thing we do is adapt back to civilian lifestyle. And I always feel like organizations like OEW, the Oscar Mike Foundation, what they could do is being a part of a team, having a mission, reaching those goals, everything, all those aspects that we had in the military. We're not grabbing a rifle and going overseas and fighting the bad guys anymore, but we do have a purpose and we have a mission, just like when we wore that uniform in the Army or any branch you were in.
So to piggyback off that question, when you see one of your athletes go through this transformation, go through their recovery, and they get their purpose and their mission back, could you explain what that's like as a leader of the organization? And also, like, an example of a success story where the foundation made a positive impact in the life of somebody who really needed to make that transformation?
Well, I could say, one story comes to mind, actually, as a good friend of mine. His name is Pennsylvania State Trooper Alex Douglas. And Trooper Douglas, he's actually from my area here in northeastern Pennsylvania. And Trooper Douglas, his story is he was walking out of his barracks one day, and somebody was across the street in the woods, and he started sniping every uniformed officer that was coming out of that building. And the first person that shot was another trooper named Corporal Brian Dixon. And the next person to come out was Alex Douglas, seeing Corporal Dixon on the ground, and he tried to assist Corporal Dixon, seeing him bleeding on the ground. When he was assisting him, Alex took a shot in the back, and unfortunately, Corporal Dixon passed away. And the results to Alex was he lost his right leg below the knee. And the perpetrator, he was a fugitive for 45 days. It was nationwide news. It was on America's Most Wanted. But what I'm getting at though is Alex's recovery. First I hand biked with him the New York City Marathon, and what I witnessed with Alex is you're seeing him build that independence once again. One of his goals is to run a marathon. Alex was an avid runner before his injury. And it's funny because the doctor said how physically fit he was really what helped save his life. And so I always thought of that too, like how important physical fitness is, I think when your body goes through trauma, how physically fit you are is how much easier your recovery, or it could be a life or death situation. So Alex's situation was that. So now Alex joins our organization, and now we're helping him in his path to reaching those goals. And, and I'm watching Alex just, he's at the point now where he's more in shape than me, I feel like, and which is definitely a check in the box, and it's successful. And, he goes to my CrossFit box in Steamtown CrossFit, right in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And now he public speaks with me quite a bit, talking about battling adversity and things that we discuss as well. So watching Alex just overcome and not let this define who he is, that is the end game right there. And I think in these organizations, when a day comes where somebody is like, you know what, I got everything I need from these organizations respectfully, I'm going to take a step back and live and find something new. I feel like that's a win right there. We did our job, and so be it. And hey, man, you're always welcome back. So I feel like that's a good end game right there.
I absolutely love that. And, another thing that you are extremely passionate about is mental health awareness and depression. So if there's anybody out there that's going through depression right now, what advice would you give them, one? But also, I think what gets left behind in this same equation is, what advice would you give a family member or a friend that is trying to help somebody that's going through something?
I think some of the biggest things, us as humans, understand something right now, and I'm gonna discuss this how I talk to some of my audiences when it comes to maybe military, but I think a lot of people can relate to this. Look, you never have to carry the weight of adversity by ourselves. Okay, the weight of it, we're all gonna have those bad days. Everybody out there and everybody who's watching this, we all have bad days at some point in our lives, and we all have. I don't care who you are, right? Some are easier than others, whatever it may be. Some of them can really just hold us to the ground and stops us from enjoying life, whether it be like depression, like you were discussing before, or, loss of a loved one, somebody with high anxiety, guilt from something in life. You get the idea, all that wave of adversity that holds us down. So what I would love to say to somebody out there, whether it comes to talking to a professional counselor or psychiatrist or whatever it may be in our lives, you never have to carry the weight of adversity alone. And I only say that because I see it so much in uniformed members, first responders, military, law enforcement, firefighters, is there's sometimes a sense of shame when it comes to asking for help. And I got to tell you what, we're all human beings, and sometimes that vulnerability can actually save your life. And even if it's, if you're too nervous to even talk to a counselor, okay? Your friends and your family and your relatives better than anybody. And I think, and they want to see, us as human beings, we want to see each other succeed in life, okay? And I think what's best. Or maybe, hey, can I talk to you? Hey, can I, taking that step forward, that leap out of your comfort zone to show that vulnerability to somebody. You don't know where that path is going to go, but that path may just save your life someday. And that's what I feel like is so important. We have to understand that adversity we don't have to carry by yourself. And when it comes to family members, like you mentioned, maybe a family member, one of their family members is battling depression. And what does a family member do when it comes to, I want to help this person, but they don't want help? I think one of the hardest things, I'm going to go back to what I was discussing before, when it comes down to sometimes it is that person who is suffering. It is the self-responsibility of that person who is suffering to get help. Now, I'm not saying you just, no, it's on them, they have to do it themselves. I would never say that at all. What I'm saying, though, a lot of it is patience. And maybe it's that person who's witnessing somebody suffering, them showing their vulnerability, like, look, it pains me to see you like this. And I want us to work through this together to help you find what you're looking for and what you're missing right now, or whatever we could do and find those steps to find your happiness once again, to get you out of this funk, to get you out of this depression. You know, if we want to go to a counselor together, I've been in group counseling before in my life, and it is helpful at all. It is those big steps, but showing somebody, I believe, that you generally do care and you want to take those steps, not saying, let me help you. I think more of a language like, let's get through this together. I think that speaks a lot of volume. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, to go off the cuff just a little bit with this. Would one thing you recommend, would you recommend staying consistent for somebody in the military? So I'm talking about from a family member. So let's say every day you typically send them a text, whether they're depressed or not. Would you recommend being consistent in that way, doing everything that you would do regardless of the depression or not?
I don't see why not. I mean, and not every text has to sound so like, hey, you doing okay today? It's, I think it's even just those nonchalant conversations like, hey, you watching the Flyers game right now? You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Just is getting that conversation going, I think, is very important. It doesn't always have to be, let's hold hands and get through this together. But I think those, like, because I don't think anybody wants a relationship strictly on that. You know what I mean? But I think when it's building a relationship, don't get me wrong, there is time for that. Absolutely. We need to look out for each other. That is very important. But on top of that, also, you want to make those texts, just be genuine about it, man. Hey, man, I'm going to go for a stroll. You want to come with me? Hey, man, I'm going to go to the gym. You want to come with me? I think it's showing that those moves forward, that you want to build a relationship and be a part of this person's life. Because I think when you show it, when it's not so much jumping right into sit on the couch, let's talk, I think it comes more easy for people to actually open up. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%.
So
I mean, I always feel like, I'm sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
Oh no, continue going. I'll ask a question after.
All I'm saying is, I think it all comes down to building relationships with one another. That's what we're supposed to do as human beings. And I think it's important. And like, I don't think people want to be treated like they're a basket case when you come across, are you okay today? But I think when we do it nonchalant in just a friendly way of like, hey dude, what's going on, man? I think there is a difference there. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Yes.
We're all wired differently too. You got to find out what works for the person or what works for you.
So this has become a bit of a passion of yours, to help others kind of overcome adversity and to be able to move past depression, anxiety, PTSD. So I know that you're in school and maybe making this a career path. Would you like to let us know a little bit more about what you're studying and where you would like to see it go?
Sure. So I'm in school at the University of Scranton for counseling and human services. Truth be told, I took the semester off because of COVID. I just thought, you know what, I feel like working from a computer. I'm not going to do that good. I know myself, all right? But I'm a senior at the University of Scranton. I'm so close to my degree. I'm hoping I'll wrap everything up by May and take the walk. And it's just my undergrad for now. I believe the Army is going to fully pay for my master's. We got to see what my benefits are. But for now, I mean, if I have to get a loan, I'll finish that. But what I would love to do is just, I learned so much already from being counseled when my brother passed away, let's be real, and also going through school to be a counselor. I like the idea of learning how to listen. And I think that's so important, you know, and I feel like I use a lot of this already in, I guess, you know, in my, what I mainly do as a public speaker when I'm not in school. And it just intrigues me so much, and the right things to say, the right things to talk, to make somebody actually feel comfortable around you, and letting them word vomit to get whatever's going on in their head out to make them feel better. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense.
I mean, and truth be told, Melissa, I don't know if I could ever see myself as a 9-to-5 counseling guy, you know, to be honest with you. But I mean, I know I am not a licensed counselor. I'm not a licensed social worker. I'm just a guy with ideas and from my own experiences, losing my brother, and, you know, unfortunately losing some other friends to suicide as well. And, you know, in my experience from my low points of losing Joe and what helped me pick myself up and move back forward, I just wanted to give out my ideas to people because they may work for you. You know, nothing's concrete, nothing's in stone, nothing's, you know, written down in a book. These are just ideas, and it's just something for people to put in their toolbox. And we're all wired differently, like I said before. This may work for you, and that's what I want to get out of all this. So just putting those ideas in a toolbox.
Well, you are absolutely great. Oh, sorry, Melissa, go ahead.
So to kind of piggyback off that, how have you seen physical activity, adaptive sports, adaptive OCR racing, adaptive CrossFit positively impact somebody who has overcome adversity? How has it helped them through their recovery and beyond that?
Well, I think with recovery, it's, I mean, for myself, I never saw myself when I was laying on that ground at 2:30 in the afternoon in Afghanistan in the summer of 2008, staring at that sky. I never saw myself doing the things I was doing now. Like, in my mind, I obviously survived, but I thought my social life was over. I thought my, my physical life was over, because for my mindset, it was literally my ignorance of going into the unknown with my disability, not knowing what was going to happen. But I think one of the biggest things that helped me was going to Walter Reed Army Medical Center and seeing those who were injured before me and seeing what they're achieving. And it opened my eyes a little bit. So it starts with community. Let's put it right there. You know, I mean, we could call Walter Reed, that was my community at the time, and seeing what these other guys and girls were achieving with their respective disabilities, some even worse than mine. I just thought to myself, all right, this isn't going to be so bad. All right. And what comes with community? Stepping out of your comfort zone. Hey man, I want to run this 5K today. You think you want to train with me, or do you want to, run it together, whatever it may be, reaching those little goals, those little victories. I think that ties a lot in with mental health. It's more than just the medal at the finish line. It's your whole well-being, letting those endorphins out. I mean, I feel like the biggest intensifier when it comes to my post-injury was, it started with CrossFit before I started running, before I started doing all this stuff. And I mean, it was physical therapy, all that stuff, which, really beat the crap out of me some days, but that super intensity where I was volunteering to do it on my own was CrossFit. And I'd also have to say sled hockey as well. But, the feeling you get after a good workout, getting that heart rate up, and I got to tell you, when you're out there really pushing yourself, all those maybe bad days you're having, or those things that are holding you down, you're not really thinking about them at that time. I'm trying to get that puck in the net, or I'm trying to get this snatch over my head. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's very important. And I mean, and like you said, beyond, it's like I mentioned before, the community that comes with it. I got to tell you, in these organizations, being a para-Spartan, it's not about that medal at the finish line. It's the people I'm doing this with. And it's more than just a teammate on a course. It's those relationships that, you'll take with you for the rest of your lives. Guys like Johnny Lopez, my buddy who lost an arm from a motorcycle accident when he was on active duty in the Army. Guys like Matt Bradford, he's, stepped on a landmine and he lost both his legs and his vision. And he hand bikes marathons, not in a tandem bike, but the guy's blind and he hand bikes and we guide him. Those are relationships. They're more than just a finish line. They're very good friends of mine now. And I'll always cherish those. And that's what I feel like we get in this community of adaptive athletes. It's more than just a medal, ladies and gentlemen.
Now I'm going to backtrack just a little bit, because we're talking about all these amazing athletes, and rightfully so. But you are quite the athlete yourself. And for a lot of people that haven't come across the YouTube videos or haven't seen you on the race course yet, you carry a cinder block with you that you call Cindy. Now, why do you do that, and what does that represent to you?
Well,
do we have Cindy right here in studio? We have Cindy present for the podcast.
So
there we
this
go.
is, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cindy the cinder block. And what Cindy represents is that heavy mental adversity that we're all going to face as human beings. Something I mentioned before. We all carry a Cindy in our lives, okay? Some are big, some are small. But maybe you're not at the moment, but at some point you will all carry a Cindy in our lives, all right? And what Cindy represents is all those bad things: guilt, stress, depression, anxiety, loss of a loved one, loss of a career. You get the idea. All those things that holds us down and stops us from enjoying life. Us as human beings, like I said before, I got this. We'll figure it out, man. This ain't too big. I've been through worse. Let's push through it. Also, us as human beings, I don't know what to do. I use all my resources. What's my next step? Where do I move forward? Now, the actual physical Cindy, this right here, we take Cindy out when I run with the Oscar Mike Foundation, carrying this as a team. I'll get to that finish. I'll get to that starting line carrying this, and I'll run the first mile with it. I don't want to carry this the whole way. It gets pretty heavy, right? Luckily, I got my teammates here, and it's like, hey, you want to help me carry this? So they'll take it for a little bit, or they'll carry the brick, and I'll carry the chain, whatever it may be, okay? And I want you all to understand out there, that's the same up in here. You don't have to carry the weight by yourself. Look, I can't stress it enough. You heard me say it a million times. Us as human beings, we're all going to struggle with this in our lives. Something real heavy, maybe multiple things, but you never have to carry it by yourselves. What did we talk about before? The importance of community, stepping out of your comfort zone, taking that leap. Sometimes the strongest thing is that you may have to do to find that happiness is being vulnerable. But understand that vulnerability, you don't have to, that leads to you, somebody as a community or as a team, carrying that weight together. Because people want to see you succeed and people want to see you get better. Trust me.
Love that. So during those tough moments, during those races, what motivates you personally?
You know what? A lot of it, I got to say, is my brother. It's something that I feel in my mind, what I learned about Joe. I never really answered a question like this before. When I found out what Joe really felt about me and the pride he had and the things I achieved, and, I never heard it from him myself, but I heard it from his wife and his peers, and that was a big drive for me, and it's, me wanting to do things in honor of him, so I'm going to make this goal. I'm going to cross that finish line, whatever it may be, and also with that, I'm maybe helping somebody else, being a leader in your community. A lot of my recovery was working at the soup kitchen on Vine Street in Scranton, Pennsylvania, just to get out there. And, one, I think it's, it's a good thing to do. And two, it gives a different perspective on your own life once in a while. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense.
So here at the Adaptive Collaborative, we believe in 3 key principles, and that's grit, gratitude, and grace. So when you hear those words, what do they mean to you?
Well, having grit, that's just when you want to throw in that towel, that's just reaching down and just keep going. you know, the importance of just moving forward and realizing, all right, I still got some fuel in this tank right now. And gratitude, I feel like it's just very important to, you know, I'm very grateful for a lot of people in my lives, you know, and it's these communities I'm a part of, and some I feel like I can humbly say maybe even help building those relationships. And, you know, I have a lot of gratitude and the amazing people in my life that I met along the way. And yeah, I just feel like when it comes to grace, man, it's you know, I could just say I'm humbled, man. I mean, I think that's the easy way to put it right there. It's just that humility. I think I just want to always remember where I came from. I feel like that's important to me, if that makes sense. Like, just keep myself down there, because I feel like that's the important place where to be, with the people, you know, good people around you. When I get up here, last thing I want to do, is part of my French, is to be a douchebag, right?
Yep. So talking about humbling experiences, James and I had the pleasure of going up to Vermont about a week or so ago with you to watch the incredible feat of the Give team crush the 4,000 burpee challenge in 24 hours. They were challenged by Joe DeSena. We were up at Joe's farm up by Killington Mountain. What was that experience like for you?
So
it was humbling for us, but what was that experience like for you?
So I've worked with the Give team quite a bit, and they actually I've introduced them to their own Cindy, and they carry that thing. They carry their own Cindy everywhere, and I'm just humbled to see it. And I got to tell you, these kids, I mean, the time I got there a little late, right? I think it was day 3 is when I got there. And they already started the 24-hour burpee challenge. And I think it was like hour 14 the time I think it was, whatever it was definitely like way past them starting. And hearing some of these guys, man, like they already climbed, you know, the big mountain on Joe's property, and now they're sitting here doing their 4,000 burpee challenge, and walking into some of these guys that are like, oh yeah, I'm up to like 6,000 now, and I'm like, jeez, man, like talk about above and beyond, you know what I mean? Unbelievable, these kids. Like, it just, you know, and I was just so honored to just get down there and do a few burpees with them. You know, just I mean, I didn't do 4,000 burpees or anything like that. Let's be real. I think the time I started till the buzzer ended, I did like 500 burpees. That was it. And meanwhile, some of these guys, some of them, they did like over 10,000 burpees. And then we then decided to Google the Guinness Book of World Record 24-hour burpee challenge, and it was 10,400, something like that. And the time some of these guys got done, it was like hour 15. So like they definitely could have done that. You know, it's just they didn't. You know, so I told Joe DeSena, the CEO of Spartan, I said, look, we got to call Guinness next time we do this, man. Like, because these guys can obviously do this. But watching these guys just grow, and you know, and I'm not going to get in. I'm not here to talk about some of their stories, and I think that's their stories to tell, okay? But what they've overcome in their lives, and what this organization has done, it's you know, life's you know, life's a draft. Pick accordingly. You know, who do you want on your team? And you could always give more, and their attitude and how they carry themselves, it's just unbelievable. And all I see from all of them are future leaders in their community in Orlando, Florida, or wherever they end up, because it's just unbelievable what these kids are doing. So, you know, anybody out there, check out the Give team on Instagram. I believe they have a Facebook page as well. Unbelievable, these kids and what they're doing.
It was extremely humbling for me, and I'll tell you right now, those guys can be on my team any day of the week. I really wouldn't want anybody else. But
absolutely,
in some of our conversation, you've talked about the 3 Ps that you believe in. We talked about the 3 Gs. Now give us the 3 Ps and why you consider them so valuable to you.
So, in my program, when I'm speaking to an audience, I feel us as human beings, to live a happy and successful life, to find that happiness, you need 3 Ps in your life. 1, you need a purpose. Everybody needs a purpose in life, all right? What do you wake up to do every day, okay? You know, whether it's, I don't care if it's you're an infantryman in the Army or you're washing windows at 7-Eleven, it is your purpose and it's honorable, and just do it with dignity and respect, okay? We all need a purpose in our life. So it can be taking care of your family, whatever it may be. 2, you need a passion. I always say, like, my passion, I feel like, has been physical fitness since my injury. And something every morning I'm waking up, going to my CrossFit gym, or, you know, even I put a ruck march on, or put a ruck on my back and getting a mile or 2 in, whatever it may be, getting those endorphins out and burning those calories. And number 3, part of something. Us as human beings, we must be part of something bigger than ourselves. Whether it's the charities I was mentioning, I don't care if it's a softball league, you know, it's something where you're building relationships, part of a community, making a difference in people's lives. We should all be a part of something bigger than ourselves, okay? Purpose, passion, part of something. How do we find those 3 Ps? How do we find those? My ideas for the recipe to find those 3 Ps: attitude. Guys, girls, a bad attitude will get you nowhere in life, okay? Having a healthy mind, I think, is so important. And I think that attitude, sometimes we can't control what happens to us in our lives, okay? But we can always control how we react to them. Like, some guy cuts you off, you can give him the finger, you can beep your horn, or you can give him a thumbs up, you know, like, just to be a wise ass, whatever it may be, right? You know, that attitude is going to go important in life. 2, comfort zone. You heard me talk about this a little bit. You have to take the leap out of your comfort zone. Because if you're trying to find something, if you stay stagnant, you'll never find what you're looking for. So it's important that we take this leap out of their comfort zone and find what you're looking for. And number 3, you heard me talking about it a lot, and I'm going to continue to talk about it: community. Like I said before, people. That's a part of something bigger than yourself. It's usually not just you doing it. I mean, it could be, don't get me wrong, but that's where community comes into play. And it's important to be a part of something bigger than yourself, because you can move mountains with it. You know, being that leader in your community, or not everybody has to be a leader. Just reaching the goals for whatever someone is looking for. The power of what a community could do, never underestimate it. So we talked about purpose, passion, part of something, attitude, comfort zone, and community.
So since you just talked about getting outside your comfort zone, what was your biggest challenge to date that really tested you to get outside your comfort zone? How did you motivate yourself to kind of push past that barrier? And what did you learn in the process?
3 years ago, I ran my first marathon. Before that, I always hand bike it. And I finally decided to run one with a running blade. And
running blade.
Yeah, a running blade.
Without a running blade.
Oh, no, with a running blade.
Okay. I'm like, yeah. Whoa.
Oh my goodness, no, that'd be nuts, sir.
I'm like, that's way outside your comfort zone.
And you know what led me to run this marathon, believe it or not, 2016, I hand biked the Boston Marathon with a broken arm. 2 weeks before the marathon, I already had my bib and everything. 2 weeks before the marathon, I broke my arm. And I was like, well, I'm still going to do it, right? So I had a cast on my left hand, and I just pedaled it with one arm. And I came in dead last out of all the hand cyclists. But like, I took it as like, oh, I had a nice little stroll up Heartbreak Hill where it beat the crap out of me, And it took me a long time. But being that it took me a long time, I was out there doing this race with the Achilles Freedom Team, an organization that I'm an athlete with that has wounded veterans run hand, bike, or wheelchair marathons. So being that I finished so late, I decided to stick around and wait for my friends who were actually running the race finish, all right? And my two buddies that were running that day, one was Cedric King, and the other one was Stefan Leroy. Both of them are in the Army. Both of them lost both their legs overseas, right? And I remember Cedric came in first. I gave him a big hug. I walked him to the recovery tent, and then I came back out and I waited for Stefan. And Stefan finished. We brought him to the recovery tent. He sat in his wheelchair, and I said, "Hey, man, awesome job, man. It's inspiring." And he just says to me, "Well, now you got to do it next year." And I just like, crap. Like, I just got called out. You know what I mean? Like, so I never saw myself at the time wanting to run a marathon. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, man, that's 26 miles. And I worry about my other foot, all that hardware and everything in there. But, it's funny. But I thought, I watched these guys do it with no legs. Yeah, I got one bad leg, but they have no toes at all. They both have one knee, so they're both AKBK. And I thought, I'll give this a shot. So it was a year of training. And it came down, April 2017. I finally ran the Boston Marathon, and it actually ended with a little flavor too. I picked up my running guide. She was holding up the American flag, and we crossed the finish line. And my phone was dead at the time. We went back to a hotel room, ordered pizza, went to bed, plugged my phone in when I went to bed, turned it on the next day. And that image, and you guys use it for the flyer, which I thought was cool.
It was one of my favorites that you provided, so that's why it made the flyer.
And it was just everywhere, And I wasn't doing this for glory or anything. Literally, it was just like, hey, let me pick you up and cross you over the finish line just to be goofballs. And like, I had an interview with Fox News, and they're like, was she hurt? I was like, no, she wasn't hurt. That's my friend Andy, by the way. She was my guide that day. And I said, no, Andy's a badass. She should have carried me over the finish line. Let's be real. But, and what did that lead to? Okay. What did why am I saying all this publicity that happened? Here I am starting to be a public speaker, and that silly image where I was just having a good time out there, and it just blew up into something so big that I didn't even imagine it to be that way. Now my business as a public speaker, I wouldn't even call it a business, but my passion, one of my passions as a public speaker, it just escalated and it just ran with it. You know what I mean? But it took about stepping out of that comfort zone and taking that leap. Not every situation is going to end like that, but you shouldn't be doing this stuff to get publicity. I took that leap out of the comfort zone to run that marathon. One, because I got called out by Stefan. Let's be real. All right. And two, I thought, you know what? Now I can say I ran a marathon. Now this time I've ran 6 since then. So like, it's just checking the boxes.
Amazing.
Among the many things I love about that story is that, and it goes back to that community. You did the marathon because you got called out, and that's part of having the community. You hold each other accountable, and you're like, hey, well, I'm not going to let this person outdo me, even though it's not a competition. At the end of the day, it's a competition. So that's what I love about that. So we're kind of getting up against the clock, but there's two things that you can put into one here. Is what's next for you, and where can people find you and connect with you and that whole sort of thing?
What's next for me? I'd say getting that degree. I'm taking like I said, I have a semester off, and but I'm going to be getting back into school in January. I'm going to be graduating, get that undergrad. Until then, we're still active in Operation Enduring Warrior and the Oscar Mike Foundation. Very small, very limited in what we do because of COVID. So doing the best we can, to get stuff done and continue our mission here. And, anybody out there, if you have any questions or anything, if you'd like to chat with me, my Instagram handle is Earl Grandville, or my direct email is earl.grandville@gmail.com, or like everybody else, I'm on Facebook. So by all means, if there's any questions at all, please. And if you're ever interested in any wounded veterans out there, disabled veterans or law enforcement, check us out at Operation Enduring Warrior and the Oscar Mike Foundation. And if you have any questions about them, please contact me.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I know that there was a question in the chat. So I think Michael had a question for Earl, if you'd like to ask it now. To call you on the spot.
No, it's all good. My bad. Sorry.
No worries. Thanks for joining us.
What's going on? Thank you for having me. So I'm a recent left below knee amputee, and I am trying to move out to Colorado to start training for the Paralympics for Beijing 2022. And as far as my friend Emily, who's in here as well, she had mentioned that you guys, or that he in particular, snowboarded, and the process and the journey to get to that point, like just like, I don't know, tips, tricks, like what's helped it. It's a really expensive sport, like ridiculously expensive, like $30,000 to type shit, and it's tough, like so just like resources as far as I know they have grants and stuff, but I don't really, I don't know. It's just, I'm so new to this. I literally had my surgery on July 23rd. So super new. Yeah.
So you don't have a leg yet, do you?
I literally am getting casted on Thursday.
Get out of here. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm super excited. It healed up real quick, which I was happy about.
I've been using the same equipment for snowboarding for a very long time. Probably because it is a very expensive sport. And I think for myself, I think when it comes to performance, a lot of it was patience, like just trying to learn how to, snowboard with a peg leg and not being able to, being that I was above knee, the type of prosthetic I have,
right.
It's called the XT9, and it's not straight leg, it's not bent, it's just a little like tiny bend in
angled.
the knee. Yep, yeah. Just a little angle, and it has like shock absorbent. So when I hit that ground, and a lot of it was just trial and error, just out in Vail, and it took quite a while. But I got the hang of it, and believe it or not, I haven't been on my snowboard in about 4 or 5 years. It's been a long time.
Oh wow!
And sure, if I got back on it, I'm pretty sure it'd probably be like starting from scratch all over again.
Right.
Actually, there's this.
So you live in Pennsylvania, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I live in Maryland. I'm literally I snowboard up on Camelback and up in the Poconos all the time.
Get out of here! Yeah. So I'm like less than an hour from Camelback.
Okay.
So
nice.
You're familiar with Scranton, then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, The Office, right? Like that's what.
Dude, I've watched.
You don't like that show? Oh, dude, I love that show.
No hating on Scranton. I just like so many girls would try to get me into that show. I just can't fade it.
I just want to open up a beet farmer, right? That's it.
Hey, man.
But I think, like you were saying though, like when it comes to I'm not familiar with any grants or anything like that. Like when it comes to my equipment and everything,
right.
I've been wearing the same snow pants for so long, man. And, they still work. So like, why do I need new ones? You know what I mean? My snowboard is the board I've had for about 14, 15 years. And, it's still going. I don't know how much I think the bindings really need to be replaced though. But other than that, I'm not familiar with any grants or anything like that. But, maybe I got some gear for you here, man. I mean, my boots, I know my boots are gone, unfortunately. I had a mouse in my garage, and one winter it just ate them all up like one day.
I would love. I don't know if you do that. If I could maybe get your contact info like in the chat, and maybe talk to you, maybe have lunch one day or something since we're so close. I don't know if that's like
absolutely
you do or whatever, but I would really appreciate that.
Absolutely. You said your left leg below the knee?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, how's they got a leg? So you said you were getting casted, so sounds like you do have a leg coming for you.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Let's definitely chat, man. Especially you're that close. Where are you at, Maryland?
Yeah. So I'm like Hartford County. So,
okay.
Not terrible. Like I'm like probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours from you.
Okay. I get my prosthetics at Bethesda, Maryland. That's where Walter Reed moved to. So like, I go through. I'm usually going down. Like 95, 83 to 95, all that stuff all the time. So by all means do it. I'm sure we can link up. But, if you're on Instagram, just look my name up and you can just message me right there and I'll give you a follow.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome, man.
Well, James, mission accomplished. The mission of the Adaptive Collaborative is to connect the adaptive community. And what a awesome organic connection that just happened there, and I really hope that the two of you can meet up. Michael, there are multiple grants that you could apply for, and there's also gyms that you could go to train at. So I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. Please reach out to me. There's great organizations like Challenge Athletes. There's Adaptive Action Sports out in California. There's the Adaptive Training Foundation, which is a gym that you could go and train at. And at the end of the program, they train you in skills so that you could get out on the mountain and go snowboarding or skiing. So there's a lot of great resources out there. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to put my contact info, and I know that Emily has my info as well. But there's so many resources out there. It's an amazing community. And again, we're all here to try to help people along their journey.
Team Catapult is another grant too, so that you could check out. But thank you so much. That was completely awesome. Earl, I want to thank you for taking the time out and doing this. It was truly an honor and a pleasure. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you guys for watching. And we look forward to talking to you next week.
James, Melissa, thank you so very much for having me, guys. Michael will be in touch. Everybody else out there, thanks for having me. Thanks for coming. Take care, you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Phil.
You too.
Hey, holy Trandon, what's going on, dude?
Oh, Trandon's got to say hi. 1 second.
How you doing, man?
Good.
Hi.
Good.
I didn't know you were on.
Yeah.
Hey, Trandon, for you guys out there, Trandon joined us for a little bit of the Spartan Ultra Beast course in Lake Tahoe, California a few years ago.
Yep.
Great to
That's
see you,
right.
Trandon is the man. Earl, he was so pumped up and ready for this interview today. He helped me prepare some of the questions. He was like, "This is what you have to ask, Earl." So all the hard-hitting questions, they came from Trandon.
All from Trandon.
Awesome, guys. Great to see you, dude, man. I had no idea you were here.
Earl,
And
thanks
Earl,
again,
let
man.
us
Thanks,
know the
guys,
next
for
time
having
you're
us.
up in Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely be in touch, man. If we ever want to do this again in the future, we can maybe even do it in person, man. That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Grab a beer or something, man. Great to see you guys.
Sounds
Great to see you.
great. Thank you so much.
Take care, my friend.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye-bye.